Eagles Chiefs in the Super Bowl this Sunday. Let's bring on someone who knows a little bit about leading an Eagles team to a Super Bowl in New Orleans. Hall of Fame coach Dick Vermeil. Coach, thanks so much for giving a few minutes during this busy week.
Hi, my pleasure. Thank you.
Let's talk about this. This is going to be the sixth rematch in Super Bowl history, the third time head coach and starting quarterbacks play again. You're somebody who had the chance to get there and have the experience and then go back having experienced it before. Can you talk about the benefit that it might be to Nick Sirianni that he was there 2 years ago and kind of knows what this is?
Well, no question, the experience helps you. You know, of course, Andy has the edge there. He's been there so many times, they start taking it for granted, But, I think it helps Nick. And even at that, the team could have easily won the game with no experience in the Super Bowl a few years back, right? One bad snap, a quarterback drops the ball, stops a big drive and puts the opponent in position to score and win the game. So anyway, the experience helps, but I think Andy has the edge there. But I don't think it'll make a difference. The experience part of preparation probably won't make a difference. What's going to make a difference is how the game goes, who doesn't make a mistake, who doesn't get a penalty at the wrong time, who doesn't fumble the ball, who takes it away, these kinds of things. And but having experience helps. There's no question. I'm not saying it doesn't.
Coach, you were introduced as the former Eagles head coach, but you've served in both roles. So you are actually in rare company as far as the alumni club of both the Eagles and the Chiefs. What was the difference, or what did you learn between the first Super Bowl and the second Super Bowl?
Well, I found out it was a lot easier to win if you take 5 Hall of Fame players and put them on the same same side of the line of scrimmage. And the other thing is, we didn't even have a week bye when we went back with the Rams. Okay. We didn't have a bye. We played the NFC Championship game on a Sunday at 3:00 the next day. We were on an airplane flying to Atlanta, Georgia. And that crowded the week something terrible. It was not a real great preparation week experience-wise, but it was equal for both teams. We were both playing the same game at the same time. But it took a lot of the enjoyment in regard to enjoying the week in preparation, then traveling, and then enjoying the week where you're going to play the game like they're doing right now. Maybe it was an advantage for me because I didn't screw up the second time we won the game. Okay, I don't know. But I remember that being a disappointing thing.
You talk about getting the Hall of Famers and stars. We've got one with our running back here. And,
no question.
And while the Chiefs boast a top 10 run defense, the last 6 games, they're actually 4th worst, allowing 147 yards per game. Can you talk about the matchup with Saquon and what he's been able to do this season and postseason with teams stacking the box to try to stop him?
That's true. They can stack the box, but as soon as they stack the box, they enhance the passing game. And people right now, until last week, haven't given Jalen enough credit for what he can do when he has to throw the ball. And it gets the proper protection, and the game plan design is perfect, And so if they stack the box, you talk about, Hall of Famers. The Eagles got a couple wide receivers that could end up being Hall of Famers. One of them may be obvious, Ed Brown, okay? So then you got the Hall of Fame running back. I had the Hall of Fame running back, and Marshall Faulk. He's already there. The Eagles have, So we have some advantages. I think the big advantage for Kansas City is the way Patrick Mahomes plays in very, very tight football games. They set an NFL record for coming from behind this year and point-winning margin as low as it's ever been. So I think that's an advantage for them. And Mahomes, the experience at the quarterback position under pressure in a game like that. But I still think it's going to come down to a turnover margin or for example, a pass interference call on the 5-yard line. You got 5 yards to go to score. Or, those kinds of things in these kind of games. The one fumble, like in our game last time. The one interception that run back for a touchdown. One play. And I kind of doubt the score will spread at any time, get any one team too far ahead.
Coach, Jalen Hurts in the last game seemed more at ease in the pocket, and his feet didn't seem to be bouncing around. He didn't seem to be looking for the escape route to run. What have you noticed about how Jalen Hurts has improved over the course of the season, and what specifically we saw in the last game?
Well, before I evaluate this season, I go back and evaluate the season he took us to the Super Bowl in the first place. I thought at that time he played more consistently up to his level of ability week in and week out than he did this year. And sometimes that's due to offensive scheme, game plans, and situations, and maybe an under-emphasis on the passing game because you run the ball so many times. If you're going to run the ball 25 times with a running back and 8 times with a quarterback, that doesn't leave you a lot of snaps to be throwing the ball. So I think there's a lot of variables there. But for us to win, for the Chiefs to win, both of their quarterbacks are going to have to be at the top of their game. That's just all there is. And Jalen Hurts has proved he can play at that level. So if it comes down to we have to throw the ball, our receivers, our tight end, actually 2 tight ends, our running back, all that, we've got the weapons and we certainly have the offensive line. What we will have to be able to do is handle a variation of Kansas City blitzes. They come up with new blitzes every week that are hard to handle, especially for the first time. So I think that could trouble us offensively a little bit.
When you mentioned the blitzes and the pressure from Spagnuolo, I mean, they come from everywhere. One of the things Jalen's done better this season, it seems like, is kind of reading the defense and checking into and out of plays. But he's still just 33% on passes when he's hurried in the postseason, has taken 11 sacks. So can you talk about the approach that you think Jalen needs to have in order to combat what Spagnuolo is going to do from the defensive blitz perspective?
I don't think it relates to Jalen. I think it relates to the offensive preparation, the coordinator, the play caller, and the offensive line coach adjusting pass protections and people recognizing what they have to do. But Spagnuolo will throw a blitz that they haven't seen, maybe 2 or 3 that they haven't seen that they haven't prepared for. You have to worry more about those because our coaching staff is really, really good, especially that offensive line coach. So the offensive line will be prepared to handle the blitzes they've seen, maybe have a problem or 2 with those that they haven't seen.
Coach, the one thing we know about Patrick Mahomes is you don't want him to have the ball at the end of the game. I don't know if there's a quarterback that gave you nightmares when you were coaching, but if there is, tell us who that is and what do you do if you have that guy on the opposite sideline?
Well, be ahead at the end of the game by more than 10 points. Okay. Joe Theismann, to me, was a great comeback guy. Okay, Joe Theismann, early in our stages of putting our program together in Philadelphia, and of course, the great quarterback from the Dallas Cowboys, the old Naval Academy grad. He knew what he was doing, and he's been very successful in business, as we all know, too. But those 2 guys really were tough in final drives to stop them.
The area where there's been the biggest turnover between 2022 and 2024 for this team is on defense. Be it Vic Fangio as the coordinator. You have 3 starters left, depending on whether Brandon Graham plays from that team. You have additions like Jalen Carter and Zach Bond and Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. Can you talk about this defense, which to me, they seem more equipped as a defense now to handle the way that the Chiefs have played with more of the short yardage passing game this season as opposed to taking the big shots?
Well, you have to really give Howie Roseman and the personnel department great compliments because, as you just said, just a few guys left from that team a few years ago. And the nice thing about it, the new guys can all play. You mentioned Carter. I mean, he's a dandy. You mentioned the 2 young rookies playing in the secondary now. Those kinds, the linebacker they pick up, all these kind of things. That's the personnel department. Vic Fangio put it all together. And I think he also changed the tempo with which they played the game, how they finished plays, the structure, the discipline within the defense. He's an old timer. You can't fool him. He's been around for a long time. And his experience will help him adjust to different things teams do. And in preparation, I'm a little worried about Kelsey in the kind of defenses that we play. A good tight end could really bother you. And you know that if Andy Reid thinks he's going to emphasize the tight end, Kelsey's the guy is going to be doing it. That could be a problem, and I don't know that. I only know Vic Fangio's defenses as I watch him play. I don't think they're very complicated. I think they're very sound, very simple, structured, good players playing it. They don't make mistakes, and most of the time they tackle very well. They're not a big sacking team, but they're a pretty good pressuring team. They're a very fine coverage team. Very fine coverage team. The linebackers can cover, the nickel back can cover, both corners can cover, the safeties are playing well. So, Fangio, to me, should be the assistant coach of the year in the NFL. I don't know of anybody other than what Mike Martz did for me with my offense, with my Super Bowl team in St. Louis, to make that big a contribution the first year there. And boy, Fangio has done it.
Coach, you were talking about the defense. How hard is it to integrate two young players, especially rookies, into your defensive backfield and make that work in your first season, taking them to the Super Bowl?
I don't think it's as difficult as it used to be. College kids coming out of Division I football today, especially these kind of guys that get drafted in the first and second rounds, they've played in tough competition. Plus, they've played against wide open pass offenses. RPOs, everything, screens, quick screens, bunch formations, and motions. They've seen all that their junior and senior year in college, so it's not totally new to them today. In contrast to, you get a kid out of a college who's been defensive wishbones, in the old days. So I think that's an advantage in early preparation, and plus the system has to be conducive to quick learning. Some systems are more complicated. I don't really believe Vic's system is really complicated. He has coached defense long enough to make it practical and execution positive within his schemes, and he knows where the risks are in certain things that you do, and he knows where he can be comfortable with what he does against whoever he's playing. So I think that's helped those young plays. But number one, the two young kids are so talented. Just imagine what they're going to be in 2 or 3 years, having covered the best every day on the practice field, then go on game day and have to play the best again. All you do is improve.
Well, and I'm wondering, you mentioned earlier Jalen Carter too. Against that interior line, can he kind of wreak havoc and bring pressure with a quarterback like Patrick Mahomes? What is it? Is it a mush rush that you want to have with him to keep him in the pocket? What is the approach to try and slow him down as a coach?
His quarterback efficiency rating is down this year. And part of the reason, or good reason for that, is the offensive line has been a problem, especially on the left side this year. They've solved it a little bit by moving their all-pro left guard to left tackle for a while. But for a while, Patrick was in trouble all the time. The problem with Patrick Mahomes, sometimes he's better on a broken play than he has a well-designed, protected play. And you look at the number of the big plays he makes, the kind of throws he makes when he's off balance in the air, and how he gets to the receivers once he scrambles, and how they respond once he does scramble. They are tough to defend. Very tough to defend. So, sometimes I think you're almost better letting him throw as designed and cover it.
Coach, we talk about preparation leading up to the Super Bowl all the time. You know that better than anyone. Is it better to have the 2 weeks so that people get all the garbage out of the way, or is it better to just have the 1 week, prepare, focus, and get in and out of town, especially when you're playing in New Orleans?
Well, as I said, you're talking to a guy that's done both. The first time when we lost in 1980, we had 2 weeks. The next time in 1999, when we won in Super Bowl 34, we had 1 week, no bye at all. 2 weeks is by far better. It takes a lot of the enjoyment out of going to the game, preparing for the game, because everything is pressure, get there. It's just, and they haven't done it since. And I don't think they ever will again. I don't remember what controlled that situation in 1999, but by far the 2 weeks. When we went the first time, I called Chuck Nolan from Pittsburgh Steelers, and Chuck's a great football coach, Hall of Famer, and been there many times. And I said, Chuck, can you give me some advice? And he gave me certain steps that he thought were important as he learned in going to the multiple Super Bowls. Number one, have your game plan all day, all done by the time you get on the airplane to fly to the destination. Then next week, it's all rehearsal. And the distractions don't bother you as much because your game plan has been put in place. Now what you do is you practice it more with less pressure of new learning. It's all repetition that second week. So that was really good advice. We still got beat. Okay, we still got beat. I didn't do a good job. We didn't play well enough. And that day, the Raiders were a better team than we were. We were also injured going into that game. Remember, Charlie Smith, my number 1 flanker back, could not play. He had a broken jaw. And my number 3 wide receiver, Ricky, let's see, it was Scott Fitzke. Scott Fitzke had a stress fracture. So we were down to our number 1 and our number 4 wide receivers. So I played Wilbert Montgomery as a wide receiver quite a bit, which hurt our running back position. So anyway, we got beat by a better team that day.
With the Rams, was it obviously having the stars mattered, but can you talk about when a preparation that 2 weeks as opposed to that 1 week did you like that better?
Oh yeah. 2 weeks is much better. When we won the NFC Championship game in St. Louis on a Sunday, 3:00 the next day, we were on an airplane flying to Atlanta, Georgia, which I've said already. Okay, that's where we were going. I left my entire coaching staff in St. Louis and had them prepare for the game with all the computers and all the stuff we have in the reinforcement staff for knowledge and information and preparation that we've been doing for 16 games at home. Okay. And then flew them in on Wednesday morning early. I was the only coach that went with the team on Monday. I had to go, but there was no rule that the whole staff had to go. And then the owner, Stan Kroenke, put them on a private plane at 6:00 on Wednesday morning and flew them to Atlanta. We started the meetings as if they'd been in town all along, but it helped my assistant coaches prepare because they were in a routine. Our video people, all our technicians, our computer guys, they were all there in the offices preparing as if we were going to play a home game. And I think it helped us. We won the ball game, so you got to say maybe it helped us. I don't know. Maybe we would have won it without doing that. I don't know.
Before Jeff finishes up, I just wanted to ask the special teams question. Nick Sirianni is an aggressive coach in general. Jake Elliott, at times, he struggled outside of 50, missed some extra points. How do you think that affects the game plan for Sirianni in terms of what he does?
I'm not Nick Sirianni. I'm not on the practice field every day and seeing how he's kicking during the week. But knowing the kicker, like I've been able to watch play these years in Philadelphia, and Nick and his thinking, I think the worry is put behind him now. I really do. I think you just got to go play. And you can't solve every issue every day. And I think he'll go ahead and play as if he was as good as he ever was. And he probably will be game day. He might miss an extra point again. I don't know. All kickers go through periods in their career where all of a sudden certain things go wrong. Tucker, everybody does it. Every kicker I've ever been around have issues from time to time. Hopefully they're put behind him. But Nick will have been watching him on the practice field for 2 weeks, so he'll know what to do. But I kind of believe right now that he'll play as if he's 100% healthy.
Coach, you talked about Roger Staubach becoming a great businessman afterwards. You've become a great winemaker afterwards. Some of my favorite wines are those Vermeil wines that have the Super Bowl Roman numerals on them. So,
thank you.
Here's my final question. Prediction on the game, and what kind of wine would you pair for the victory celebration?
Oh, there you go.
Well, first off, let me clarify one thing. I'm not a winemaker. I'm a partner in a little tiny wine business that was my hobby, and some friends with real money made it turn it into a business. And so we were able to put together a very fine team that does all the really does the hard work and makes the quality wines. And I appreciate your compliment on the wines because they are good, very good. They're getting very expensive, but I think it would depend on what I was going to eat after the game, what I was going to celebrate with. Okay. Where I am right now, we're going to have hamburgers because we got 12 people watching the game. So I'm going to barbecue cheeseburgers and potato salad and coleslaw and probably drink a Red Blend 34. It brings back good memories. That 34, the NFL won't allow you to use any kind of NFL logo, but they couldn't stop us from using the Roman numeral 34 for Super Bowl 34.
There you go. And what does the computer say this week?
The computer says that the Eagles are going to win by 5.
There we go. That's what I want to hear, Coach. Coach Dick Vermeil, we hope you enjoy this Super Bowl lead up so much. Thanks for always giving us some time to talk about it.
All right. Thank you. Go Birds. Bye-bye.